Add a paragraph to your speech about something that you've done to change this. But what started to happen then, remember, I say this criticism lovingly and because of my compulsion to see what's wrong with my side, my team. The Indians in the orchestra developed their applause lines. They started to whine, and it was disgusting. These are young Indian people, freshly minted PhDs in courses that I never even took in high school, that didn't exist, disciplines that didn't exist when I was in high school. Micro, bio, chemo, something or other. And they whined. Well, I'm at such and such a place, and I want to do community-based research, and my racist institution won't let me do. Oh, give me a break. You know, you get a PhD, at some point, learn to play that game and outplay them. Don't come to us to whine. Hell, we can't even exercise tribal governmental powers that we have. How are we going to come in and straighten out the University of Oklahoma for you? And if you haven't figured out on the way to a PhD that politics, academic politics rules in that system, they shouldn't have given you the PhD. But I want to do community research. And by the quality of the whining, you knew perfectly well that what that person meant by community research was, I want to produce something of very little quality, but it's basically writing up stories that I told when I hung around with a bunch of Indian Health Committee people at certain reservations. No point, no discipline, no product that anybody can put to any use, but whining of the highest art. And when you've heard PhDs whine, it's a totally new level of abstraction. So I thought, you know, this is not progress in the direction that I'd like to see us going. This is the same whip puppy attitude taken from the political, the intergovernmental arena. It's intergovernmental or political, by the way. My friend Joe Delacruz came up with that government-to-government business. That's such a clunky phrase. The intergovernmental level between tribes and the feds. That's bad enough. But now we're taking the same notions and putting them into the possible advancement of our people in these professions and the mark that they're making on the professions that they've entered. That's not a good thing. I want them to change the professions that they're in. I want them to be a factor, but they've got to do it with some pride. Hold their head up, not whine so much, because you don't get anything by whining. People lose respect for you. And I guess I was spoiled. Let me brag a bit about lawyers. I get sick of lawyer jokes because they're just stupid, you know. Lawyers, yeah, sometimes lawyers do bad things, but I don't get it. One particular summer changed a lot of things back in the early 70s. There was a guy named Hans Walker. Well, there still is a guy named Hans Walker. He's a lawyer. He's from Fort Berthold. He inspired me. Went to a meeting in Minneapolis when I was taking a year off from college. It was an Aberdeen, Minneapolis joint meeting, and the door opened and about 8 of these huge guys with cowboy hats came in. 9 of them was, not 8. They came in, they sat up towards the front, and I said, who the hell are those guys? They had all their Indian cattlemen duds on, you know, with their funny things on their shirts. Who are those guys? And they said, that's the Fort Berthold Tribal Council and their lawyer. I don't see any lawyer. That one. No, he's an Indian. Where's the lawyer? That's their lawyer, Hans Walker. He's from there. Go on. Yeah. Jeez, really? It wasn't, what was remarkable to me was not so much that an Indian could become a lawyer, but that his own tribe would hire him. I knew Indians could become lawyers, but I also knew that Indian tribes don't hire their own people. Because they're figuring, if you're so smart, how come somebody else hasn't hired you? Sadly, that's still the case. People depict that as some kind of primitive superstition that Indian communities have about, ooh, education is bad. That's not it. It's the common thing you'll find in any small community. And let me tell you, probably 85% of what I heard yesterday that was presented as being unique to Indians is not unique to Indians at all. It has to do with the type of society and the size of the community. Much of what we have to deal with has nothing to do with Indian culture. It has to do with the fact that we're trying to govern what are tiny political units as if they were nations in the sense of big nations. And we don't take that into account. But anyhow, there was Hans. And eventually he went to work for the solicitor's office. And that had a big impact. He worked in Washington for the solicitor's office, but he would be sitting in a room where they would decide what the government's position was on a legal issue. And Hans would speak up and people would kind of roll their eyes. People still do this at meetings. Not as much as they used to, but when you're having a meeting and the Indians are really outnumbered and you have like a breakout session or something and all the people are talking and they're keeping to the point and they're being as efficient as we know these people can be when they think about something. Then the Indian person talks and there's a dead silence for about 15 seconds. And then somebody says, yeah, well, that's good. And then they go on with what they were saying. As if that guy hadn't talked, or as if he had, I won't say it, but you know what I mean. There are other kinds of ways you interrupt a meeting with sounds coming out of your body. And that's the way Hans was treated in the solicitor's office. Until the summer of probably 70 or 71, when a bunch of Indian law students got intern summer jobs at the solicitor's office. And suddenly it was Hans plus about 15 Indian law students. And if you listen really closely at the breeze coming over the Appalachian Mountains, you could hear 1,000 government lawyers say, oh, shoot. Here they come. And it hasn't been quite the same ever since. It didn't solve all their problems, but it changed things because now we were on the inside and we were participating in decisions in a way that we never had before. And Hans wasn't alone anymore, and it changed a lot of things. So, to the degree that Indian people who are qualified, and you know, we could spend another week talking about that, but qualified to do research, to get the funding to do the research. To the degree that we have those people, and we have an increasing number of them every year, and I hope with tribal support. Why do I always get invited to speak to tribal groups in states where tribes don't have any damn money? How come this isn't Southern California? Or the New England Coalition of Research Protectors or something? Or the Minneapolis Area Sioux Tribe Research Conference? You guys, you're broker than we are, for Pete's sake. Just my luck. Researchers have to be talking about adding much more detail to many of the things that were said yesterday. I listened yesterday and I agreed with so much of what was said, and I know you can't say everything in one sentence. There's a certain finite number of words in every sentence. There's only certain smaller thoughts you can articulate.